we'd like to show you guys a little bit more about how this final kind of potting procedure works, and more over how the setup for it works, because the setup is really all what leads down to just the 20 minutes of actually potting everything. So we'll try to show more videos that show all the details, but kind of as an overview, we thought it'd be good to just kind of give you a glimpse of what the final setup looks like once it's ready to go, and I'll describe generally what has to happen to get there. So first of all, after you've made your motors, you've made the little wire extensions and waterproof those, and you've made your battery packs, what you have to do is mount everything to the OpenROV shell in the way that it's going to be, and then route all of the wires down through and around. And actually, well, I can't undo this now, but what you want to do is make sure that it's able to go under this slot around here, and then have just enough room so that the end cap sits so that this outer white edge is pushing against this brace.
There is a picture in the wiki of this.
Oh yeah, and so that's a great way to kind of get an idea for how it should look. Another thing is, before you put this sheathing on, this actually has to happen before you do that measurement with the end cap, you want to make sure you label all of the different motors. So before I had this on, I was just kind of tugging and seeing which set of 3 wires went to which motor. And you can see I labeled them here. Oh, these are for the batteries. Battery starboard, battery port, it's port thruster, vertical, and then somewhere in here, hiding, I guess up here, is starboard. The reason all these are taped together, a few of these wires have fallen out, is I had to tape them all together so that I could push them through this kind of mesh material. So after they're all labeled, I put the whole bundle through the mesh. I make it long enough so that it could go around here, and then there was just extra. Remember, it's always easy to just make it extra long and then cut it later. So it reached around here, and then I even doubled back. That's what came up with the length here. And I labeled these at kind of an arbitrary long distance. After I pot this, what I'm going to do is measure the distance it needs to be to go to the little Molex connector, and then I cut all the wires at the same spot. There are going to be a few other things that I'll have to do with the battery wires, and I'll have to cut them even shorter to do a splice, but that comes later. And then finally, what I've done here, just to kind of get the setup ready, is I've pinned down this end cap against a hard surface. In this case, I've made a special jig, but you could just do this with, a broomstick or something if you have an overhanging counter. Anything where you can have a like fishing line or dental floss or some sort of a string pulling up on this, and then it goes to some sort of elastic thing. In this case, I use rubber bands. And those keep tension, but they also make it so that after you pot it, you kind of move the wires around and plunge them kind of in and out to allow the potting material to go inside the wires. You really want there to be no air bubbles, so it's nice to be able to move it around and still have the tension from these rubber bands. And then also I put a piece of masking tape around the circumference here. It's just holding this bundle really tightly so that none of the wires are touching the wall. If a wire touches the wall, it's possible that potting may not get between it and the wall, and that could create a path for water to come through. Lastly, this is the tether I've used. Unless you have a tether like this, it won't be an issue, but it's nice if you have an outer sheathing on the tether that you're using to cut that free so that you end up with just the 2 stranded wires themselves. You don't want anything that can, it's called hosing, that can allow hosing to happen where water comes through the sheathing. Most wires are tightly packed enough that water won't come between the conductor and the first insulation layer, but if there's an outer sheathing around your wires beyond that, it's good to do it. So this is basically what it looks like. Now I'm going to get a potting gun and inject this whole thing with Hysol.